Hey, how you doing?
Oh.
This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. And who is this guy over here? My twin brother over here.
Yeah. The other mighty beard.
Yeah, that's what I've been joking. I've been saying 2 beards, 1 comic. Hope
Yes.
it becomes an irregular feature of this channel. Every once in a while, we'll talk about something. I enjoy talking to you. I'm glad you wanted to come back, and I'm glad you suggested this.
We're going to have to do this again because with a whole other book in which you're going to recommend at the end of this show. So we're going to go into something else because this was fascinating and I needed to read it. I think it's a must read for any comic fan. I've been reading it over the course of a couple weeks, and then I reread it all today, like the entire thing. And
put pressure on him. I told Kelsey if he didn't have it by today, I was going to spoil the greatest ending in a comic book that I can recall.
That we'll have to get to that part because there's definitely it was a lot of fun, and believe me, I was there was some shocking bits and some parts that I think I really like, but I'm not sure I understand yet. So I'm hoping maybe you could shed some light for me.
Okay, well, first let's take care of business. I love that. I can't stand smoking, but I just love it. It's like smoking is cool. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
I need a smoke after this.
Oh,
man.
that was he flipped that last page. It's like, I need to smoke.
Yeah, it's an intense read.
I got my Substack over here. This is my email list for my comic. And speaking of my comics, it launches a week from today, almost exactly. 9 o'clock on Michael Bancroft's channel. He graciously offered to host. So my Earls Tales. And speaking of comics that are live, you have you and Mike Baron got Nexus.
That's right. Still continuing the legacy of Nexus.
I'm rereading Nexus, so I didn't. You did the Splato comics with Mike Baron, right? There
was only one, but we're finishing it up. I think later in the year we got a book that's coming out that has the entire story in it, so we can finish that up finally and move on to yet more great tales of the Galactic Assassin.
Yeah, because when that comic came out, I said, you know what, I got to reread Nexus because it's been like I haven't read it since it came out on the newsstand. So your comic is still on the bottom. I didn't read it yet, so maybe by the time I'll get to it.
Are you rereading all of it? Like, do you have the omnibus?
All of Nexus. I started with the 3 oversized Capital Comics, and now I'm going through issue. I think I'm up to 12 of the original run.
Speaking of that, real quick, I'm actually I'm not recoloring it, but coloring it for the first time. Those first 3 issues from Capital Comics, the origin,
right?
And we're gonna pair it with the origin from Dark Horse, which makes some little modifications to the tale, but some people will be able to read it for the first time in full color.
I recommend it. Nexus was one of the first comics that blew me away, and you know what's funny is I kind of forgot. Like, it's been so long. I read Nexus, and then there was Badger, and then Mike Baron did The Punisher, and then when he brought up Nexus again with Richard C. Myers' Splato comics, I was like, oh yeah, Mike Baron started with Cosmic Space.
Yeah,
he's become such like a street level regular guy that I forgot that this guy could do epic. Like, this is like Star Wars. Yeah, it's Jim Starlin.
There was a lot that was familiar, and not in a way of like being influenced or copied by, but those same big ideas of sci-fi. Oh man, this is wild.
That is funny. I guess unconsciously, it made sense, but it didn't until you just mentioned it. But
life, death, freedom. Being put in impossible situations where what choices do you make to get out of these? It puts you in some serious moral quandaries, and I find myself in similar feelings reading Nexus as well. So
that is funny. Yeah, I could see Nexus hanging out with Jim Starlin's Warlock. I could see Jim Starlin's Warlock because the Warlock now is Jim Starlin's characters have like a uniqueness to them, that only, I'm not taking away anything from anybody else. I'm just saying Jim Starlin makes it like a unique perspective on all those characters.
This also made me realize that the movies, as much as I like them, Hey, what's up, Prater? The movies definitely did. I don't want to say a disservice, but they don't even touch. They don't even touch what this has. I mean, this one book could have made those movies so much more intense.
Oh my God! Could you believe? First off, the Thanos in the movies is a clown compared to the Thanos in those comics.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed him in the movie, but his mission seems so much bigger. His personality, his everything is so much bigger.
Trader 7 once. I haven't read this, but I want to. Should I avoid this video in case of spoilers? Oh, you're getting spoilers.
Yeah, you might want to.
You're getting spoilers. You're getting spoilers. And what Geek Day, John Nexus looks amazing. Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah, thank you.
Kelsey, all kidding aside, no exaggeration, he's one of the best at superhero comic book art ever, and non-superheroes. Because I'm waiting for more Nora Saga. Oh my God, did I?
Oh, you're talking about me? Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was reading this, going, I need more power poses. I need more no just standing there. It needs to be like that's what I mean, because Starlin was so creative in like every aspect of this, and it didn't work all the time because definitely in the beginning. Now, real quick, let's get into this first.
Okay, I just got to do a little trickery because I got the camera set up, so I got to remove myself and put the other one, so the other one will be enlarged. So
okay. Yeah, I want to do. Yeah, this is great.
That's what I want to do.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right. Oh, you got the individual issues. So this I just have the trade.
Yeah.
But do you know much about Jim Starlin?
I don't know much about the man himself. I just know that I think he was hired by Roy Thomas, and he came in to Marvel. I think around like 71 or 72, and he just started they just let him do whatever he wanted. He used characters nobody else cared about. He did Captain Marvel, then he brought Adam Warlock back, and they just left him alone. That's really all I know about him.
So this was 72. It looks like it started in 72. Warlock.
It's
75 started in Strange Tales, but from what I read just from the beginning of this, it gives very thorough recaps of everything. He appeared in several comics before this even started,
right?
Because it gives you backstories.
The Fantastic Four 65, I think he was him. And he wasn't even Adam Warlock yet. He was this creature from a cocoon created by Enclave, absorbed cosmic energy. The Fantastic Four beat, and he was supposed to be a one and done. I would almost think that Stan and Jack had like a, quick, we got to come up with an idea. Him, you know what I mean? It was like a half-baked idea. And then Jack Kirby brought him back in Thor, and he came out of the cocoon again, and he checked out Sif, and he was just like, yeah, I want to get me some of that Sif action, and Thor beat the crap out of him. And
they were asking, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. And then he was brought back by was it Jim Starlin? Like basically.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, because if you're saying he came in around 72, and then this is like 75, and you could tell at the beginning, he's cramming so much in every page, and he's doing like a lot of trickery where with the dialogue, where I'm like, at first I was like, how do I read this? It's like a puzzle that you have to solve almost.
Yeah. And somebody said Gil Kane. Yeah, these are great Gil Kane.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
Great covers. Are the covers in the trade?
No. Well, yes. Let me see.
But just look at these great Gil Kane covers. And at this period, he was just he was like
Starlin.
He was like Jesus. He went to counter Earth, the planet created by the High Evolutionary, and he sacrificed himself to save the planet from the man beast. He was all over the place. So,
yeah, these do have covers, but they all look like they're all Starlin. So I don't know if.
So this is before the events of that collection.
Oh, okay, I see.
So I'm just took them all out to build up to it. Here he is, on Counter Earth. This is the Reed Richards on the Counter Earth. He becomes the Brute. The Brute, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
This is like Earth 2 that it's kind
So
of
there's a lot more story then. This is all not in this book, right? The complete collection.
Yeah, this is him living on they got the sun, and then on the opposite side of the sun, we can't see it, is counter Earth that the High Evolutionary made to make a perfect Earth. But then like a jackal or something like that evolved and became like Satan on that world and created evil and whatever. It was one of those things that didn't really make sense, and they changed, like the Savage Land. What's the history of the Savage Land nowadays? Who knows? So
well, I expected that guy to come back because they kind of alluded that the guy that kind of ruined the alternate Earth from the High Evolutionary, that jackal guy,
Man Beast or something.
Man Beast, yeah, something like that. I kept expecting him to return. Also, this narrator, the little spaceman guy, I kept the one from the very beginning. He kind of vanishes at some point.
Well, I just wanted to show this. So this is The Power of Warlock number 8. And I just wanted to open it up, but it's Mike Friedrich, Bob Brown is the artist, Tom Sutton, Artie Simek, and Roy Thomas, editor. So this is number 8, and then we have number 9. This is Jim Starlin taking over.
Ah, okay.
Everything changes, but I just wanted to bring it all up because I kind of forgot exactly where. Like, do I start with the Strange Tales? So now this is like you can see the costume changes. Like here,
yeah.
Let's look at the old costume.
Well, there's several times in this book where it's like part 1 and then part 1 of 1 and then I'm like, what? How many ones have we got? Are you pulling a fast one on me? Like I was.
So now this is where it really begins, because you could see the Magus in the background. You could see Adam Warlock drawn over here. This beautiful Jim Starlin.
Which is this one starts with Strange Tales 178. Which one? That's just Warlock. So that starts.
I think this got canceled, and Strange Tales 178 was the beginning, and then it became Warlock, and then it's one of those convoluted, crazy looking comic.
So I gotta say, like, okay, so my favorite.
Oh, so I gotta get the Strange Tales. It does.
I love the character of Pip, and yeah, he was a lot of fun. There's 2 stories in here that I enjoyed a lot, but they're completely like non-essential reading, really, in the Warlock tale. But there's the little Pip story, which is kind of fun, where he lets loose, and I don't know who she is, this blue girl from her. She's in, I don't know what you call it. She's chained up and forced to be like a love slave, I guess.
Yeah.
And she's almost in like a TARDIS. That little cart is like a palace on the inside, but it's just a little tiny cart on the outside.
Oh man, I want to go and get the Strange Tales. Are you okay here for a second to babble on while I get?
Yeah. Go ahead. He's gonna check his long boxes, folks.
Yeah,
watch out. But I mean, it's so dense. Like this is. I've mentioned this many times of reading like older comics in the past, and that it was like 25 cents probably back then. I don't even know if that has the price on these covers. 25 cents, and you got so much story on every page. Every page is just packed, and now you're spending upwards of $6 for just a 22-page comic or whatever they are now. I don't know. Or in the case of crowdfunding or whatnot, 38 pages to 42 pages for like $25, and you're still not getting as much story as one of these issues for 25 cents. So
are you talking about how much stuff they crammed into these old comics?
The density of story in these are amazing.
So this was look at this cover. Oh my god. I got
178.
Strange Tales 78, 70. Oh, I have 2 copies of 79.
So that's where this officially begins. This book.
I'll crack this open.
Which should be called the Incomplete Collection of Warlock.
So
it says the Complete Collection, but I'm guessing it's just focusing on Jim Starlin's contribution to the character.
So just, I mean, look at this great cover over here, and that you can see all the Ditko influence over here, like, this, Master Chaos and Eternity, and then all the line. I just love this.
So there were a lot of themes in this. I mean, there were so many different themes that I recognize, from just everywhere, just being like, I try to read a lot of different kinds of stuff, but there's everything from traveling through black holes as wormholes to go from one place to another really quickly. That's in here at a time long before it was kind of a popular idea.
I'm looking at this. Okay, this is 1975. I thought it was early. Yeah. But Starlin, I think, entered Marvel a couple of years before, but I guess he took over. I think he did Captain Marvel before he did this. But
okay.
I started rewatching Space 1999, and like the third episode, they go into a black hole, and they're really describing what a black hole is. And it's funny because I remember my friend Carl did a report on black holes, and it was like new hot science at the time. And that must have been like 75. We take it for granted now. Black holes, but it was like a new, like, people like, that's preposterous, that thing can't exist, and in my lifetime. But here we got Jim Starlin, writer, artist, and colorist. Oh, we can't see that. Jim Starlin, writer, artist, and then we got Annette Kowalski. I never heard of her before. You said you had a little bit of problem with the lettering, and Len Wein is the editor. And here we
there's a lot to cram into this. So I mean, but I think it's more about his layout, than her. I mean, because there's nowhere she could have done this otherwise. Right. I'm pretty sure he planned for it to be like this.
I mean, check this.
But this is what I found is that's why I was asking if this was relatively new for him, because I mean, if he started relatively short time before this, you could still feel that boldness of just trying stuff.
First off, I want to Michael. I'm sorry if I'm going to say your name wrong. Dietrich. I'm sorry.
Michael Deitch. That's what I said.
Fan channel. The chat recently had a fun time discovering Kelsey's work on the Dark Fang books. No one draws naked water vampire girls like Kelsey. I would probably hazard to say that nobody draws naked vampire girls at all, except Kelsey.
Naked aquatic vampire girls. That's why I actually when I wrote a little tweet out here to let everybody know we were doing this, and I was like, it's a book about life, death, freedom, and a space shark. Yes, because that actually, there's a big shark in Dark Fang as well. She turns into a big shark, and the way he did it in this book really reminded me of that. So
here you're talking about this blue guy, space guy narrator.
Yeah.
And it's so awkward and clumsy, but he's just telling us, the reader, what he's catching us up. Hey, he's telling us off camera.
It's fun because it's idiosyncratic. I mean, it's not just in like space Shakespeare writing. He's talking like Stan would. He's like, hey, I'm going to take over for Stan here.
Ringsaw from the Star Singer Pegasus here.
Yeah.
and I read it in Stan's voice. But here we go.
I mean, he seems like that.
He's battling Thor over here, for he wanted to grab some Sif. You know what I mean? We've all been there.
So the one thing about this is that this is that time period where what is it that who's his name? The editor that said every issue could be someone's first.
Yes, yeah, that was Stan Lee's big thing, and then Jim. They kind of lost it when Roy Thomas took over, and then they brought it back with Jim Shooter. And I'm
Shooter,
a big fan of that. Every issue is somebody's somebody's. Dan White says the only time we see Sphincter. I got an OnlyFans. I'll show you Sphincter again, but it ain't cheap.
But it was interesting because I'm not used to comics. I mean, when I started reading comics, they didn't really delve into all that. So, but it was like this constant reiteration of like where things are, who are we, and it's like even the dialogue, it milked every moment for all it's worth, because it was constantly backing itself up, by reiterating themes and ideas and what just happened. So it's a challenging read in that way if you're not used to that, but it gets into the flow of it. And then there's a moment where, and I love this, where the tale of what happened before was being told while they're in the middle of a fight scene. And it was like, well, that's about as much as we can squeeze into this. We better get on with it, and they actually have fun with that. Jim
Right.
and the editor.
Yeah, this Sphincter character is kind of like goofy, and like you said, he acts like Stan Lee. He acts like it, and then Pip the Troll is there because it is really heady theological and philosophical topics, and then Pip the Troll is just like, let's just drink, let's just smoke some cigars, let's just get some chicks.
Yeah, he's the id, he kind of like, whereas Adam Warlock here is, not like a Jesus character really, but
look at this, he's crucified on a cross right
here. Yeah, right. That's what I was looking at, and I was thinking, well, I guess he is kind of, but he's so bogged down in right and wrong and being just and the having to deal with the fallout of his decisions and what he has the potential to become. He's so serious. So you need Pip there,
right,
to just take the piss out of the moment,
and again, I haven't read this. I read this maybe 5-6 years ago was the last time I read it. In your graphic novel that when you read it, were you caught up? Did you feel like, were you lost at all? Did you get the whole story? No,
not at all. I was never lost up until towards the end. Now we'll get to that part, because
these pages, those comics that I flipped through at the beginning when I was showing them, and I was like, oh yeah, Power of Warlock 1-8. All of this stuff happened in Power of Warlock 1-8.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had forgotten that Strange Tales was really where it begins, because it's weird. They do Power of Warlock 1-8. It gets canceled. It goes to Strange Tales 179 to 181. Then it gets canceled, and then it goes back to Warlock, starting with 9. So how confusing is that? So if you want to read this like in the floppies, that's the correct reading order. And when I bought them, I just bought Warlock 1-8 and then one right to 9. And I'm like, where did I didn't get the Strange Tales, because then Strange Tales at 181. No, before, I think it was before this, it was 182 rather. It goes to Doctor Strange. So it's just one of those confusing things about comics that
in Motto says the letterer from back then didn't get enough credit. You have no idea. This
letterer got paid by the word over here. Look at all that.
Yeah, if you were getting paid by the word, you were doing well in a Jim Starlin or a Chris Claremont book.
Look at this. There's basically nothing on the splash page, and then it's 8 comic books.
But I appreciated that, because that first issue, they catch you up on everything. They give you an idea of who the good guy is, who he's fighting, at least in the first arc of the story, and what that all about in this first issue. They set up everything you need to know, at least for the first arc of it, before Thanos comes in. Really,
this is page
spoilers.
10. Yeah, so page 10, they caught you up on the complete history of Adam Warlock. And there's one thing I don't think that they mentioned in this. Maybe they do, and I forget. But in Fantastic Four 65, the group of scientists, they created Adam Warlock to be a supreme being. They were creating a deity to worship. They believed that, like, God of the Old Testament or whatever religion that you believe is inadequate for the new age. So the scientists were going to scientifically create a deity for people to worship. and he became him, and then that's why when
Right.
he showed up in Thor, he wanted to have, I'm a god, I deserve whatever I want. He didn't. He was created to be this arrogant thing, and that's
So did you see the Guardians of the Galaxy movies where he appears?
Yes.
Which I think they did him a sore injustice in that, but he seemed more like what you just described. Like, I deserve this. He seemed like he was not really fully formed at all. So maybe that's what they were taking that from.
Right. And I
don't know.
And then, like, here's where the story begins. He saved the space. You see this alien again. Bob Layton brings this race of aliens back in the Hercules series. They're supposed to be like super powerful. And then just look at this. You could tell now that Jim Starlin's done with all of the backstory, he's just pouring his art. Look at that.
Yeah, he's ready to party now. Yeah.
Coloring and
but this little fight here where he fails, basically. Like the first fight we see him in, at least in this story where we're picking up, he fails. Right. And that really pisses him off. And it sets him on his quest. And there's a really creepy thing here, which I found fascinating, where we get to see him use his power of the soul gem. Now if you've seen the movies and not read the comics, you probably know all about the stones, the different gems that Thanos is compiling into the gauntlet.
Gems. I firmly believe there was no concept of the Infinity Stones. There was just the soul gem. And Jim Starlin admitted that he took the idea from Elric of Melnibone. Elric being the sword sorcery guy who he was weak. He was this albino who was just weak, and he would use this magic sword. And as he killed people, their energy would flow to him. Like the sword would get most of the energy. He would get some, and it became like this addictive drug. And the sword was always whispering, "Kill, kill."
Well, where did he get the soul gem? Did the scientists that made him? Where did they get? Did they put it in him? Like, where? It doesn't explain that part of it. I don't remember.
From the High Evolutionary. The High Evolutionary.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Because they believe that he's the only person strong enough to resist the siren call of the soul gem. Now, the soul gem in this is sentient on its own, and he wants to and it wants to take souls. So Adam Warlock is becoming a good guy at this point. So he's the keeper of the soul gem to prevent the soul gem from just slaying everything in existence. And then later on they had the power gem and the time gem. That was all. There's no good idea that will not be exploited and expanded upon in comic books over 70 years. But is this the creepy thing you're talking about, where he kills her?
No. So they kill her, like he fails to get her. So that pisses him off, and he's really wanting to know who they were with, why she was running from them, and all that. So he uses the soul gem to recapture her soul before it gets too far away, and puts it back in her body, and gets her to tell her tale. Here.
Right here. Yeah, so he's flaunting the power of this Infinity Stone, but it's not called Infinity Stone at this point. And look at this. She's like an animated marionette,
Yeah, and she's like, why do you put me back in this cold form or whatever? And he's like, chill out, I just need some answers and I'll let you die, and it's
I'll speak of hell.
Yeah. So then we get the whole story of this church of what is it called? Universal Church of Truth.
Yeah.
Which is great because it's got this God character who, and I'm gonna have to continuously go back. The Magus. Okay.
Yeah, the Magus.
The Magus is I think
he's uniting the galaxy under this religious institution. He's, there's an emperor, there's politics, but they all pay homage to the Magus.
What's interesting, and you may know this too. Have you ever read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yes.
When was that published? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Was it before this? Because there's ideas in this that immediately made me think of of A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I don't know. Anybody in the chat know? We got 55 people, and I'm
Hey.
sorry I've been ignoring the chat. I'm trying.
We're enthralled. You'll have to forgive us.
Guys, I'm not joking. This is one of the best comics ever made, and if you don't want spoilers, I don't know how to do this without spoilers. So
there's more ideas presented in this book than I've ever seen. There's more ideas in this book than I've ever seen.
Okay, October 12th, 1979. I assume that's the publishing date for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Wow, so that's after this. That's after this. Holy cow!
And here we look at this. Hey, Richie Dupe, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening? So yeah, I mean that's interesting. So that means that obviously these are themes that a lot of people were dealing with, the idea of religion and not necessarily faith, but religion using doctrine and just using it as a control system for people to cleanse
all the bad things, the negative parts of religion, and none of the positive parts of religion.
But that's also one of the themes in this, because like even in this like first issue when he's or actually it's the second issue, the Death Ship, when he's confronted with the victims of this church, space church, basically, the people that don't conform, the non-humanoids.
Yeah.
They're like, will you lead us? And he's like, no. And then they're like, get all mad, and they're like, we'll do it ourselves, whatever. And he's like, oh my God, I didn't say I wouldn't lead you. You can lead yourselves, these kinds of things. So, but I forgot what I was going with that. But
I'm the Magus. I'm the ultimate force. What I wish is, depending upon my mood, galaxies live or galaxies die. The very fabrics of time, space, and the mind, or the soul are mine. So there's no escape. You there's no place in time, space, the mind. That's why I don't think there was any Infinity Stones yet, because it was all encompassed. Our mind. I am power. I am absolute. I am the God supreme. Now, again, we got to keep in mind that Adam Warlock was created, Kirby and Stan Lee as like a scientific god. So this is just Stan Lee, Jim Starlin taking this to the ultimate logical extent. And I love that he's just battering around Adam Warlock. And then
no spoilers yet about the Magus, about who he is, because we'll get to that.
Greatest reveal in the history of comics. And then look at this Steve Ditko panel. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That was fun. It's just showing his power. He could throw him into these realms where he's got to fight. He's got all these creatures. So just showing off his power, and that Adam Warlock is no match for him.
Was he a popular character back then? No. Like I keep talking about back in these days, in the dark ages before comic book stores, I just went to the newsstand, and the newsstand dictated, the free market dictated what in my area. We got Avengers, we got Thor, we got Fantastic Four, but we never saw Shang-Chi. Adam Warlock was like a legendary character, and I didn't know he existed pretty much until I got this comic, which we will definitely be talking about. And so when I got this comic, I was like, I got to find out who this Adam Warlock is, And
so he tells him pretty much right off the bat.
Just look at this panel right here. The Magus is just enveloping. He's just eating. He's just toying with Adam Warlock.
So yeah, right here on this page, he tells him. It's the next page where you are. Okay, so yeah, this
page.
Yes. So he tells him right here, one and the same being, you and I.
Oh yes.
You cannot fight. You cannot fight me. I am everything you are, plus all the things you hate. You and I are one and the same. So my mind's racing, where I'm just like, are they the same power? I'm thinking, okay, are they the same person? Are they the same? Are they the flip side of the coin? Is that the evil side of him? And Warlock represents just the good. These kinds of things. Like there's all these things, all these questions racing through my head at this point.
Because of course I should have realized these creatures were my own inner demons. And the Magus is Latin for a wise man, magician, warlock. That's right, Adam. You and I are the same being. Oh, ha, 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 ha. What, you know, I mean, you got to have an evil laugh after that.
Yeah,
You know?
and I mean, it could mean that he's just in, like he's saying, you know, the Magnus is Latin for wise man, magician, warlock, someone that, you know, can use stealth and shadows and whatnot. He uses it. He uses the meaning of warlock many times in what he does and how he operates. You know, so which I didn't understand at all. It was like warlock. Well, he's a space wizard. No. They're taking the actual deeper meaning of the word warlock, you know, and applying that to him as, you know, just a personification of his power, really.
And then we have
that's a great picture, man. Golly.
She's just back to dead, you know what I mean? The warlock just toyed with them and left them alone, you know, and that's why. And right, he goes, it's not a hallucination that spurs me to stop myself from ravaging galaxy upon galaxy. How does one defeat himself without destroying himself? You know, and that's the conundrum. Adam Warlock and the Magus are the same being, you know.
Yeah, and 'tis madness to go on, yet if I cease to struggle, madness shall surely prevail. The Magnus must be stopped, and only I can do so, no matter what the cost. I mean, they're setting it up where, you know, he's going to do everything in his power to stop this a-hole. This guy who's got a stranglehold on the galaxy, or at least this part of the galaxy, with his, like, religion.
Just look at this cover. I mean,
yeah.
Time. Kelsey, how much time would it take to draw this?
I mean,
and these are all probably computers or anything, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it would probably take, you know, at least a day, but I'm sure he did it probably in, you know, I don't know, 6 to 12 hours at least. I mean, they were cranking it out at least a page a day, maybe 2 pages a day of this stuff.
First off, the greatest ad.
Be a man.
This is the greatest ad in all of comics. I want to address this comment. The flip side could be the Detective Magus and Warlock. I got to tell you, when Magus, for whatever reason, Warlock kind of disappeared for like a 10, 15-year period. And during that time, in the New Mutants, they had the techno version of Warlock. You know, the computer, and his father was called the Magus. And I was waiting for so long for them to reveal that was the Magus and Adam Warlock. And as far as I know, that never happened. And then that Magus and Warlock kind of disappeared and Adam Warlock came back. I wonder if that was a coincidence or whatever. But, you know, I was waiting for them to be associated, because what a coincidence that there's Warlock and his father is the Magus that he's running away from. This was
cool. Well, I mean, okay, so wait, real quick, Matthew. Yeah, I was just going to point that out. His powers are like levitation. Of course, the soul gem, to me, I mean, it seems like that's separate.
Right.
Yeah, he has the ability to utilize the soul gem, but he also innately has powers of like levitation, strength. What else? He even mentions what his
he could fly faster than light. Keep in mind, this is a being that fought the entire Fantastic Four when he was like an infant. He fought Thor to a stand, and when he dies, a cocoon forms around him, and over a matter of time, he comes back. So he can't die. You know, that cocoon resurrects him. He was great. So he could channel cosmic energy and basically have whatever power the plot requires. But he doesn't. He shoots blasts, you know, power blasts, and then the soul gem just gives him nebulous powers over the soul and undeath and foresight.
And him, as we come to find that, you know, he's not immune to the power of the soul gem either himself.
Right. The soul gem is like a vampire.
Yeah.
Constantly whispering to take souls.
Yeah. Yeah, and he has to literally battle himself at one point.
And again, here we got recapping the last issue, because back then there was no poll lists. You know, you just happened to see it. So here we're spending 2 pages bringing you back up to the last issue. And the last issue spent 10 pages bringing you back up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I learned to kind of skip through those pretty quick just because I was reading it all in one go. I was all still fresh in my mind. So, but there's still some like great dialogue bits, especially later when they're having fun with the recap. And I love the little bits where you see Jim and who is it, Archie? Who's the editor here?
The editor here, it was Lin Win.
Lin Win, yeah. So yeah, they'll pop in every now and then and like have a fun little banter, you know, in some of those scenes. But anyway, this scene, this whole issue takes place on this massive sort of warship, or you know, of the magus or magus. You say magus like the magi?
I know that it was funny because my friend Carl and I, when we read this as kids, he would say magus and I would say magus, and we would just both too stubborn to give in.
Yeah, they're probably both correct. Just
who knows? I don't know. Anybody speak Latin? I don't know. And so now the magus throws him, or magus throws him on this prison ship, and now he's just being toyed with. We get some other stuff. So he meets the people. The Soul Gem allows him to understand all the alien language, which gives him, and at first he's like, oh my God, these monsters are coming at me. Maybe I can, they speak, so they're intelligent. So he uses the Soul Gem so that he can understand all their languages. And of course they're like, oh, you're cool. Like, oh, you come to help us. So he's like, oh, you're intelligent and you're good. So what's the deal? Lay the skinny on me. What's happening here? Yeah, you can see it's all dark, and he's looking at these creeps,
Yeah, and they're all speaking England language.
Like, greetings, Adam Warlock. How you doing?
Yeah.
Thank you. You know what? Do you know why we're all imprisoned? So I just like that here he is, this ultimate being, and he was just like creeped out and scared. I mean, look at this guy. It's just a human head with like worms that just.
Yeah, some of these guys are really funny, the little aliens, but they're just little background characters, little aliens to kind of show, but they give the story that basically they're going from place to place, eradicating whole societies, and then things like these, aliens like these, non-humanoid, are basically just trash.
Right. Because what use are these guys? They can't do any manual labor,
Well, and this concept too, that's given right here in that panel, where this is something I'd seen in other movies and stories that I'd never seen up, and it says, "We are destined to be terminated, and our mortal remains chemically broken down. Whatever valuable elements can be retrieved will be used to further the cause of the empire." So they're using like every part of the buffalo, so all the things that they don't deem adequate for their society, but they still use every bit of chemicals and parts and whatever else they can and I'm like, I've heard that concept before, so it's just real neat to see stuff like this early where these concepts exist, and are playing out.
I love this race. They're just floating eyeballs.
Yeah, right. And just like insects and these weird lizard guys with no arms. But then trolls.
Yeah. The troll. Everybody loves Pip the Troll.
Yeah, he's fun. And he just comes in like, this place is actually not that hard to escape, but these guys ain't going to do it. I've been waiting for somebody with some guts to come along, and hands.
And Pip, if in case you can't see, he shows up he already has a cigar.
Mm-hmm. Where did he get a cigar from?
Everybody else is just like, they're gonna grind us up, and Pip's like, well, I got a cigar, it ain't that bad.
This moment does introduce the matriarch, because they were talking about the matriarch, and I'm like, well, the Magus is not a matriarch, he's obviously a guy, but then she enters in. And she's got a much deeper story that we'll get to as we go. But she's really fascinating because she immediately is like, well, I can use this situation to my advantage, because if I kill Warlock, or if Warlock kills Magus, then I could take over supreme, as the
she's not ruler. A religious fanatic. She's an opportunist.
An opportunist, yeah, good way of putting that.
Yeah, just look at this face.
Yeah, she's got the same face throughout the whole thing too, just calm, even all the way to the. She's just cool customer. This one is that the gold female character in Guardians of the Galaxy 2? I guess.
Well, the
trying to think of like representations that they did for that, because they twisted it all up for those.
Yeah, they twisted him up. I normally I'm a sucker for it has to absolutely fit, but to make Adam Warlock, it's like there's like a whole 2 movies or so that you have to make. You know what I mean? Like they didn't do the Fantastic Four, they didn't do Thor. So they did the best they could.
Yeah.
But to defeat Thanos without Adam Warlock, to me, that was the biggest. Thanos even says the only being in the entire universe he fears is Adam Warlock.
But I'm impressed at how close they did stick to this book. Toward the end, I was like kind of shocked at how close it came to some of those last couple Thanos Avengers movies. I was like, wow, that's where like all of this comes from, is from these books. Yeah. having Spider-Man in it. Spoilers. That's where that comes from.
That has one of my favorite Spider-Man moments, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. I'm getting ahead. It's a little teaser.
So now they're talking about the world that he comes from. What was that?
That's my Sibian. No, that's my cigarette machine. Sorry.
Oh, okay. That's my prisoner off camera.
Yeah.
It's time to give her a bucket of slop.
But I loved this guy. They introduced this guy who seems like a jerk at first, but he's an honorable character. He's he has the kind, because even when she's like, you got to kill him, he's conflicted by that. He's like, what can I do? I am not a sworn knight of the faith. Nor he doesn't feel like it should be his honor to kill Adam Warlock, but he's going to do it because that's what he's told to do. Yeah. And even fighting Warlock. But then you get this is what I was talking about. So they're like, lead us, you're great, be our leader, and he's like, no. And he tells this story of Grok, who's like just a caveman
of Grok.
And it's great. It's this story where Grok is like the biggest guy. He's able to kill all the food and get all this stuff, and then one day he just realizes, why am I doing all this work? I can easily defeat anybody in the village or in the cave. Why don't I just get them to do my bidding? And then he becomes like this warlord. He's got all the women, he's got all the food, he's got everything he wants, until Bach shows up. So there's Grok and Bach. When Bach shows up, and he's like, I'm tired of doing your bidding. I'm gonna take over. So Bach ends up killing Grok and taking over, but then he just becomes the same thing.
He's the new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah, and that's what Warlock is trying to tell them, that
maybe me becoming the leader is what causes me to become the mages.
Yeah. So you need to be free. I cannot lead you, but they don't get that. They're just like, F you, man.
They're like, ooey on you.
Yeah. We're we'll do it ourselves or whatever. So it's like they just did not understand what he was trying to say. That
the only person who stands by him is and I love this. He just I won't leave you, and he's like, oh, you better do. And he's like, oh, Warlock just slips out of the harness while everybody's man. Like he could have escaped at any given point.
Yeah, exactly. He just like vanishes. But then they take care of all the baddies, and they're like, oh my god, what happened? And everybody's freaking out. Nobody knows what's going on. You don't even see him. He's moving so fast through all this. You don't even see Warlock, but he's taking care of business.
Yeah, because you just see a hand in the darkness.
Yeah, right. They do shadowing. So Jim Starlin does these dramatic shots of faces and stuff with shadows going over them. It looks so great.
I love this. All the guys are mobilized. All the aliens are running, and then you just see over their head, Adam Warlock is just, what's happening.
Yeah, because this is what I'm saying. It's like the time had come for me to live up to my given name. A Warlock's home is shadows. It is shadow. His movement, those of the wind. His code, silence. his virtue, surprise. I become a true warlock. So it's like, again, they're kind of like reinforcing that this is not the warlock you think it is. This is not the guy in the purple robes with the moons and stars on it. This is, or whatever. This is, taken from a deeper lore of the etymology of warlock.
The MCU adding. Thank you, Garfield's Bizarre Adventure. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I get them so rarely. I kind of get embarrassed when I don't know what to do. Just thank you. I guess thank you is the best thing to say. The MCU adding Adam Warlock after defeating Thanos is like adding the Silver Surfer after. Yes, I agree. They should have thrown in Adam Warlock before Thanos. Like it's instead of the Captain Marvel movie, they should have had the Adam Warlock movie. And
yeah, that is a great point. That would have been way more appropriate to set that up. Even in Guardians of the Galaxy, they set it up a little bit, and I remember even being excited because I knew immediately who that was, even though I'd never read this book. I was like, oh, Adam Warlock, but they missed out. They could have added so much richness there.
I agree. Look at all of the panels, and there's a lot of words on a lot of the panels, like over here, and it causes you to read it slow and take your time. But then this panel is just an action scene. Boom, 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 boom,
yeah.
This whole page, there's no words to clog it up. It's just Adam Warlock, like boom.
There's a lot going on here, but there's definitely a point where you can barely keep up with it. I mean, it's moving so fast. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm just like flying through it because it gets really intense. Like as it goes, it starts off relatively slow, even though there's all these panels and all these actions and all this. It's building up this lore kind of slowly and surely, and then it just all hell breaks loose.
And we have Captain Articles over here. He's just like, all my men, they get defeated, and now, so you have to have Warlock versus the captain, I guess in a video game, this would be like the sub boss, he has to fight.
But he doesn't want to kill him. He registers his that he's a good fighter. He's a good man. He's an honorable man, even though he's having to do this. He's struggling with this.
I'm impressed. Did you do this all to my man all base alone? Yes. I wish you had escaped while you had the chance. I don't like what I must do. For I am a soldier, I must follow orders. I am more than your match, my grim friend. I will make your death as painless as possible. Why do it, Articles? I sense no evil within you. Why do you serve? 'Tis my duty. I am bound.
Yeah.
And I pity you, Articles, for you serve a false god who exploits you and laughs at your loyalty.
Like I said, there's so many like great themes in this that they start right off the bat. There's like loyalty, honor, just so much going on.
Duty, duty.
Yeah.
Look at this page, Joe. Look at the backdrop is space, and the panels are just—they're not even circles because they're like spheroids. It's just such a bizarre choice, but like it. I don't know. It just
there's a lot of that through this where he's just having fun. That's the only way I can describe it. Is that it's not.
Oh, he's having a blast.
He's just having fun. Yeah.
I bet you if you could talk to Jim Stalin and bring this up, he'd be like, "Yeah, that was a blast." Hey, Hojo, how you doing, Hojo?
Hey, what's happening?
Hojo's got the mythicals, picked it up. And Glitch, those names remind me of the Guardians of the City of Gog and Magog. Is that where the names come from? Because I know they're biblical names.
Maybe, yeah.
Glitch, if you wouldn't mind, would you private message me, DM me, or whatever, more information on that? I would love to know more about that. I have the first issues of the Warlock solo. Just look at this. Look at this. This ad I just want to bring up because I'm sure you don't have the ad.
No, I don't have the ads, unfortunately.
Hypnotize with any TV. So I love that. You're going to hypnotize chicks in short skirts,
Yeah. Yeah.
That only worked,
They just send you a box of alcohol. That's no. Good luck, kid.
12-year-old.
Yeah.
And here he is just blasting away at a.
So this is when he first uses the soul gem. And what's funny is like as much history as he's had before the events of this comic, I mean, being like a living god to an alternate Earth and to all this stuff. He's never used the soul gem to take another soul. You know, this is the first moment that happens. And when it happens, he gets an entire history of this guy.
Right. They merge souls, you know?
Yeah.
And I love this effect. Like he's it's like silver and purple and
yeah.
And then this green energy, his eyes turn red. You know, he just I love this Kirby crackle all over the place. Autoclys is just he's taken bodily into the soul gem.
Yeah.
You know? And then he sees that Autoclys, you know, he had loving parents, he had an honorable life, you know, all of this stuff. Just you know,
and then at the end of it, he's not dead. He's just soulless. There's nothing in it. It's just an empty vessel at that point, which to me, it suggests that his body is not dead.
Right. Well, yeah. Like
that
maybe with medical attention, he could probably be kept alive in a coma.
But there's nothing there. That's the way he describes it. It's just like it totally suggests that, you know, and they go through this several times where he's having to fight soulless creatures where, you know, I guess they're either animated from one form or one way or another, but an actual living being without the soul is just, it's nothing, you know. So it's as good. It's worse than death. It's kind of the way they describe it in a way.
And I love this. How could I ever live with this? Within me, I could feel the torment of the spirit that was once Autoclys. Would it happen again? Had I lost control of this accursed gem forever? So now the hinting that the gem has a will of its own.
Mm-hmm.
This damn gem, which even as I stood there in despair, hummed in gluttonous satisfaction. What curse had linked me to such an infamous entity? Then, if struck by lightning, it occurred to me, this gem might be responsible for the Magus' existence. So he's realized what won him the fight is putting him on the steps towards becoming the Magus. Because the Magus is from the future who travels back in time.
Oh, spoilers!
Oh, well, I thought it was already revealed. Yeah.
No, well, and they're hinting at it. So that's my mind at this point was racing because I'm like, now I'm looking back on this. You realize that a ticking clock is starting. You know, that there is an inevitable meeting of Warlock and Magus, and that you're being presented with all these ideas, like the soul gem. Is that who created Magus? Is Magus from the soul gem, or what? You know, there's all these questions kind of up in the air about.
Am I doing the right
what
thing?
All this is about? Is
this what's causing the Magus to happen? Is this causing me to transform? Like he's
somehow they're intertwined.
Yeah.
Somehow he knows that they're together.
The aliens again ask him, "Lead us, lead us!" And he's like, "Fool yourselves! You don't want me. I'm the guy who turns into the bad guy over here, guys. Don't give me power." You know, and that's to get political for a second. That's why I say we don't give the government power. The government's going to turn into back, and then tax going to take over. You know, whether you're left wing or right wing, when you give one power, you're giving the other guy power.
That's why I think this is like relevant. The themes in this are still relevant today, and not just with our own government, but with people and just everything, you know, that we deal with, and that, you know, and
that's why I'm not much of a joiner, Kelsey. That's why I kind of
exactly.
You know, I you know, you seem to be more like me in that you like talking about comics, but you know, like I'm not joining a cult. I'm not becoming your leader. I just want to talk about Jim Starlin.
Do not make all the old mistakes over again. Do not set up false lords to rule over you. Rule yourselves. He's like, really, like, come on, get it through your head.
Take the ship, free the other prisoners, find a new world, and start over with. Yours is a chance to recreate Eden. Don't remake the hell you just escaped from. Myself, I have a mission to complete, a false god to destroy. I leave you, but please remember my words. Govern yourselves and always be free. You know. Mm-hmm. And this guy's like, that's easy for you to say. You have arms. I'm just a you know, and then he gets on the ship and he turns around and there's Pip the Troll. You know, just like, what are you doing here? Well, you know, you need
he's fun. He's a rapscallion, but he's a loyal guy. you know, and seeks adventure, but he's like, you know, you got things to do, and I got, you know, there's a long way to go, so let's tell me your story.
Yeah, he goes, and I love this. I mean, tell me about your other runaway self and that vampire jewel of yours. You've got people. What are you going to do? You know, you basically need a buddy is what he's telling them. And I got to address this. Geez, Garfield's Bizarre Adventure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do you guys remember the first comic you bought with your own money? For me, it was Mark Miller's Ultimates when I was still in high school. I still have it. The first comic I bought with my own money was Fantastic Four 186, where it's written by I think it's written by Len Wein, matter of fact, but it's drawn by George Perez, inked by Joe Sinnott, and it's Claw fights the Fantastic Four, and Reed Richards accidentally becomes the Molecule Man.
Oh, wow.
And you know, the last panel is Reed Richards as the Molecule Man, and I'm like, oh my God, because I didn't realize it. I bought it months after it came out, so I didn't get the next issue until maybe a year later.
Oh, man.
of the newsstand.
That's a cliffhanger.
Oh my God. And stuff like that happened all the time. Like, again, the next, when we get to Avengers Annual, you know, we'll be talking about that.
I do remember the first comic I read. I mean, I bought with my own money. It was several comics, and it was X-Force #1, X-Men #1, the October issue that had that giant gatefold cover. This is when all the guys got their first issues. You know, McFarlane was on Spider-Man, the relaunch of that. They all got their own books, and I bought every one of them. And that's because I'd seen comics. I had friends that had comics. I remember one of the first ones I ever remember seeing was Wolverine #1, where he's on top, you know, the Buscema image. The black outfit. Yeah, that was, I remember seeing that when I was a little kid, but I'm pretty sure, you know, I got into high school, and then that's when comics were really kind of making a big push back out there. And I saw that Buttonfly Jeans commercial with Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, I remember.
And it just clicked, and I asked Mom to bring me to a store, and that's right at that time when X-Force #1 was right on the shelf. And I just, everything I saw was the most exciting thing I've ever seen.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah.
So coming back to this kind of stuff, it's fascinating because it's way more rich in story. You know, I'd gone long and far to see better storylines from, you know, just everywhere you can imagine. But it's fun getting back to this kind of stuff because, man.
I'm just pointing out that this is Comics Code Authority. And
yeah.
So this is supposed to be made for children. And what are we talking about? Oppressive governments, leading yourselves, the dangers of becoming a demagogue. You know what I mean? You know,
I don't think I would have understood half of this if I read it as a kid. I mean, maybe just the fight of good and evil, that kind of thing.
I mean, I did read it as a kid. And I got the gist of it, but I don't think I got the depth of it.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about again, people. It is censorship, but it's art through adversary. If you ask me, I mean, like look at the quality of comics came down once there wasn't a governing authority to really this put boundaries and said work within these boundaries. So it forced you to become creative. I don't know. I'm sure people could disagree with me, but is it a coincidence that we had the best comics of all time during a period when there was a Comics Code Authority? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this makes me want to go back and definitely read. That's why we're going to have like to pick something else and go through. You got to make me read these, like what's some other really powerful. I've never read Secret Wars. There's so many like comics in the 80s that I've never read.
For the next Two Beards, One Comic, we could do
maybe
Wars. Yeah.
If that's one that you think would be a great next one.
But the first Secret Wars everybody loves. It's not the best comic book. It's not the best written, but it is such a little kid idea. Let's get all the superheroes, all of it, and just have them battle in an arena. That's what you played with your action figures. Let's be real.
Right.
When you were a little kid with your toys, that was the storyline for 90%.
Oh, for sure.
They're just going to battle in an arena. You know what I mean? It was a perfect comic for Secret Wars 2 is where the problems start. We got John Saw. I love seeing all these new names. My first comic is Freedom Fighters number
Freedom
10,
Fighters.
1997. I found that in a city dump. Wow.
Well, you didn't technically buy that with your own money, but we'll accept that.
He didn't say he bought it. He said it's his first comic. I've had comics before that. I have two older brothers. I have lots of cousins, and comics would just show up. But the first comic I bought was Fantastic Four 186. And I think the second comic I bought was Thor 286 with Walt Simonson's having the Destroyer crushing, Thor's Destroyer on the head. But look at the art is getting better. But I never noticed this before. Story Sam Giltran, art Jim Starlin, colors by Ms. Nadril. I wonder if these are all like fake names. Inks, rats.
I think those are anagrams, or is it an anagram that's mixed up letters?
Oh yes, it's
all Jim Starlin.
Oh, good. That's why you're an artist, there, Kelsey. Oh yes,
because I've never heard of these names, but they all still spell Jim Starlin. I think.
There you go. Nice catch. Nice. Good night, everybody.
You see what I mean? He's just having fun. He's doing all kinds of goofy stuff.
I'm sure my cam, because this is like an $11 webcam, but it
look good.
All of the details that he puts in, like the rocks have texture. Kelsey, would you mind putting up your copy? Because I just want to compare the color.
Well, I have to do it here because my camera is like.
Right. I'll make
it. Either got one or two cameras. The color is like very vivid in these.
Yes,
because it's smooth paper.
I just can't stand the color. Like.
Yeah. I like it like that, where this color soaks into the newsprint and it makes like a nice dark
muted or diluted or whatever. But when I see trade paperback color, I know this makes no sense, but I just say it doesn't look right. It looks artificial.
So one thing you'll notice about the mini space worlds that they go to in Warlock is that they're all dumps. I mean, every one of them is like a seedy backwater, filled with bars and unsavory types. They didn't go to one fancy place.
Star Wars, and this is before Star Wars. I mean, I if you told me George Lucas read all of this and loved it, I would have been like, of course he did.
It wouldn't surprise me because it is very much a lived-in universe. Like he gets all the credit for his making in film. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I wish newsprint would come back, but from what I hear, they don't even make it in the same way anymore. It's a whole different kind of thing now.
Pete Samedi's the only one who gets newsprint comics, and he treats that like a secret. Like I was asking him, can I use your printer? And he was like tight-lipped. I'm like, Pete, I'm not your competition.
Yeah, it's the same people that make those auto traders, or they used to. Like I don't even know if Auto Trader's making them anymore. So. Yeah, I mean, good on him for still getting that sweet newsprint. It's, I don't know that it's the same as this stuff. I
wouldn't be surprised if even Alterna's newsprint, it's got to be different paper than this.
But I mean, it's probably better because I mean, when they were making this was just bottom of the barrel.
Right. This is
the cheapest stuff they can get. Yeah.
I just got to point this out. Just look at this text. This is now we're down to one-page recap, but it's telling us everything because every comic book is somebody's first comic. They gotta give you everything. They gotta let you know. Here's Autoclus getting killed over here. The introduction of the Magus. This is just info dump. One-page info dump, and now here we are in the cantina scene in Star Wars.
Yeah, pretty much the cantina scene, and he takes out these guys like Obi-Wan does, right. With his taking out the baddies.
You're a troll, and we don't like trolls in this. It's
yeah. That's so funny. I didn't catch that when I first read it, but you're absolutely right that this is that scene long before. Well, not long before that came out in 1976. When did Star Wars come out?
This is 75.
Yeah, but Star Wars came out in 76?
Star Wars was 77.
77. So 2 years before Star Wars. This is almost that same scene.
Yeah. And Garfield's Bizarre Adventure. George Lucas did get a lot of inspiration from Dune and Hidden Fortress for the original story. I wouldn't be surprised if George took. Supposedly, Dark Side had something to do with Darth Vader.
Kirby is definitely an influence in there too.
You're going to tell me that if anybody's going to argue that George Lucas wasn't a comic book fan growing up, I got no proof either way, but it's a hard sell to tell me that guy didn't read comics.
Well, even European comics, because there's like some European comics that they it looks like
I just love this. The Mego Ed. I had all of these toys. I never got the Thor Mego because it had real long blonde hair, and I only saw it once in a supermarket upstate when I was living with my grandparents for a summer. And my pop is like, no, that's for girls. Because Thor had long blonde hair. So I never
cared about the toys, but I always drew those little drawings because you couldn't find little isolated figures a lot in comics. So you'd see those ads and I'd see, I can see the character real easily.
Yeah, I love these. And now they're making Megos like replicas again. So here we got. So now what's going on? There's Black Knights. They're like Knights Templars of the Church of Universal Truth. They're ordered to bring back Adam Warlock. Pip the Troll goes a hiding. Look at him. He's over here just watching the fight.
Yeah, and you see the Soul Gem kind of asserting its power again, where it's like it just wants to eat their souls so bad, and he's fighting it bad.
And that's why I think the High Evolutionary gave him the gem, because he's the only being that can contain its awesome. Even the High Evolutionary doesn't trust himself with the gem.
It's like the rings of Mordor, or something. The ring of
because Moorcock lifted Elric of Melnibone from Tolkien, Turumbor and the Black Blade, one of the progenitors of Aaron and Luthien, who ends up in the progenitors of Aragorn. So Moorcock took that. Then this,
you can tell he's inspired a little bit by all that stuff too.
Right, Tolkien at this point, you know what I mean? Here she is. He's face to face with the matriarch. Oh no, not yet. Yes.
Well, you still get more of her.
Yeah, she's not face to face.
She's thinking about where she can go with this. So she's very smart.
Steve Disco. There we go.
Steve Disco. Yeah.
Steve Disco inspired stained glass, and I love this. Look at this face.
Yeah.
Here, that's like Marlena Dietrich or something.
Yeah. Right.
With this brutish thug. I love that. They're all aliens, but the leader is still a hot chick.
So she gets the idea that she's like, I can't kill him. I need to use him, to be my slave, basically, so I can rule with his power. That's her scheme. Where are we here?
Have I seen that image of Green Goblin as Spider-Man? I don't know. I don't think I know that image that you're talking about. Is this new? If it's new, I probably haven't seen it. I know I sound like an old man, but I don't pay attention to new Marvel stuff. Me and Marvel broke up. I wish him well, but we don't talk anymore. This is awesome, like Sunday morning comics with special guest Kelsey.
We've already gone past an hour, my friend. So there's so much book left to go. We really need to speed it up just a tad, because there's a lot.
The coloring is off because,
if you can believe it, this is just the beginning of issue of the third issue here. Yeah, so we've gone through so much story, and it's just now the beginning of the third issue.
Oh yeah. So there's one more regular comic, and then there's two giant sizes. So do you want to we'll finish off with this, and then next week we'll do the giant size? Well, next week my comic is launching.
We could do
whatever you want to do.
Let's because there's like I was saying, there's two stories that we can pretty much skirt over really quickly, but the one with the guy who's trapped in his own body, but his mind is going out, which is a great story. I'd love to talk about that one, but it's not essential to the Warlock story. And also the one with Pip, which again is fun. It'd be fun to kind of talk about a little bit, but it's not essential to the Warlock story per se. So, but yeah,
This I wanted. So right over here, he's disgusted by the soul gem. He's disgusted by everything that happened. This,
let's go through the clown episode. That's
did I skip over?
Because by the end of that one, we get to see the mages. So let's keep going. Let's do a little bit more here. Let's go through the.
But this I wanted to talk about. He takes the soul gem off and he's trying to discard it, and he collapses. The soul gem is not letting him. No, I got you in my grasp. He's like Gollum right here.
It's like a drug. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and Pip goes and puts the soul gem back on, and now he realized. I love this panel. It's all darkness. He's just like, I'm a puppet separated from the gem. I'm like a puppet with the strings cut off. In other words, that gem has become my life force. I'm its prisoner. Yeah. And then we got this Marlena Dietrich over here, the matriarch, and I love Pip is just razzing her.
Yeah, she pops up and she's very like cunning in her ways. She's been listening. They got little listening devices everywhere.
And Adam Warlock over here, he just fades from right. We're gonna take care of you. We're gonna fight you, right, Adam? Adam, he just abandons Pip because
that's good because she promises him answers,
right?
And he wants answers, so he leaves Pip, and goes and tries to seek out those answers from the matriarch.
And here he is, he's flying now,
Yeah, he's going over all this stuff about the soul. This is another kind of like recap as well, setting up. Okay, I can't control the soul gem. Who is the Magus? Who is all this? The matriarch must have this answer. So he's just talking to about all of this stuff, reaffirming all
existential angst.
Yeah.
He goes to the church, the sacred whatever, I forget what it's called. And he sees all the servants. All of the trusted servants are lobotomized. They're just like brainless zombies because can't have anybody with free will around. And here she is, just this. I love. He's just coming out of the darkness, and she's just like, you want to know who I am? You want to know who the Magus is? Yeah, that's you of the future.
That middle shot with him, you could see it in your panel. The shot of him coming out of the darkness, just his face, his red eyes, and he's like, then begin dealing, madam. Adam Warlock has arrived, and it's just
like, how did you get in here undetected? He goes, I've come to ask the questions,
not answer them. Yeah,
I mean, you really don't know. He goes, I have this gem. Who, that's right. He goes, all of this happened a long time ago, because the Magus is you from the future. I already spoiled it because I can't. I'm like a little kid. I can't.
Yeah. But we were kind of getting that. And plus, a lot of people have probably read this in the chat, right? So
a lot of people in the chat.
Oh, you got to know the super chat there.
Yeah. Oh, I got so into it. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure. I got to go, guys. I'm enjoying the Pure Comic Book Talk. Subscribe. Thank you so much. Guys, it's about comics. That's my whole philosophy. It's not about me. It's not about my ego. It's about this right here. So I'm trying to keep it focused on comics.
Oh, I mean, this stuff is so special. It doesn't. This kind of thing doesn't exist anywhere else. In this form. And like reading this, I'm like, I love how Starlin uses the medium. Almost he could be cinematic in ways where he'll encompass he'll do the scene and then he'll cap it off with this moment where he says, the right line, and it's just like him standing there, and just such a punctuation of a moment that only comics can do.
I forget. There's a woman who every day she posts a comic book related question, and she said, "What is the best medium for adapting comics? Movies, animation." And I said, "Nothing. Comics are the best medium." Comics are my favorite and there's things you can only do in comics. And I don't know. I always looked at comics as more theatrical than cinematic. Like I say,
that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
look at this page. I could see this on a stage.
Right.
Like look at the spotlight over here. The lack of backgrounds, but you don't need the lack of because you know that they're in a huge throne room. With minimal light because Adam Warlock has shown up and he doesn't want light, so therefore there's no light. And now she's seductively putting the moves on him, being coy, and then she turns away with this little smile. And what does she do? She hits some hidden button, and he falls in, which I call BS on because this guy can levitate. But you know,
well, he even says, it happens so fast he didn't even get to concentrate on his levitation. So,
and then he falls down with these ridiculous monsters.
So this is funny. This part made me think, oddly enough, of Transformers the movie, because I don't know if you've ever seen that, but there's a moment where a couple of our guys get onto this world, and there's a tribunal like this, and there's this judge that has these heads that will rotate, and they would say guilty or innocent, and their whole thing was like when they'd say innocent, they were guilty, so they'd be like innocent, and then they'll drop them into this pit, but that it is very similar to this in this way. Again, the threads of this extend far and wide into popular culture that we don't even really understand how important this book really was, or any of these comics.
We got these jurors with no faces. You know what I mean? Like,
that was fascinating. I really enjoyed it because when I saw that, this whole bit right here where he's like, to your right is a district prosecutor who shall supply us with phony charges, lying witnesses, and falsified evidence, which is perfect. And he's just a big mouth. Yeah. To your left is your court-appointed defender. He'll supply you with the best legal counsel available if he could stay awake. And it's just a sleepy eye just watching. It's such, and then of course you see once the evidence of your guilt has been proven. I mean, your fate will be decided by a jury of your peers, and they're just dummies with the thumbs up, thumbs down. Yeah, he is. Starlin is definitely casting stones out there because, like, you could tell he's throwing them at organized religion as a control system. He's throwing it at our legal system, the ideas of justice and all that, and it eventually will end up in this issue where everybody looks like clowns, and that was a little jarring at first, but it actually turns out to be a brilliant issue.
His first witness comes out and he goes, I accuse everybody in the court of being guilty. He goes, you're guilty of everything that was good until now it serves nothing but evil. Bailiffs, silence the witness. They just kill him. The jury is instructed to disregard this witness's testimony.
At first, I thought this was one of the prisoners from the prisoner ship. I was like, did they get those guys and were they got him to rat on him or something?
Yeah,
just random. Yeah, just random guys they got. Do it and we'll maybe let you live, and then no. But,
Here he is, Count Dante.
I was feeling the fury in this whole scene. What the hell is that? What an awesome ad.
Saw this ad, Count Dante, the deadliest man alive. He's
Is
really an Irish guy. He was in Chicago, and he actually fought with Chuck Norris, and he was just like, I'm going to open up a kung fu school, but nobody's going to go join a school taught by some Irish guy. So he called himself Count Dante, and he made up the story that he was descended from Spanish royalty. He fled, who was forced out after the Spanish Civil War, came to America. It was all a scam, And then he got it on public TV. They had a death match where him and everybody else just fought, knocking the crap out of people. Went to the hospital, and he just stayed and kept fighting. So he earned the title, the deadliest man alive.
He looks like a 70s kung fu vampire. I mean,
70s kung fu vampire. Matter of fact, I forgot who told me that they're doing 70s kung fu vampire. They're making a comic.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And
because that ad, it makes him look like somebody from a Hammer film,
In my role-playing game that's inspired by comic, there's a team that formed in the late 60s, early 70s. They call themselves the Secret Seven. One of them is Charles Atlas. One of them is Count. It's all the people, the ads from the comic books. They formed the super team but they had to keep it a secret because they couldn't let the public know. So someday I will tell the story of the Secret Seven and how Count Dante saved the world.
Old Dirty Fatty says he was a hairdresser. But you got another super chat there, by the way.
Yes, he was a hairdresser. Yes. Oh, What Geeks Do Network. Do more of these streams. I'm loving it. Oh, yeah. Guys, this is what I dreamed about doing when I started this channel, talking to people about comics. I'm loving every second of this.
I'm a good mark for this because there's so much of this stuff that I have not read.
I keep forgetting that we're not the same.
Yeah, you can relive it, through me having read it for the first time. I love doing that with movies. I was always a movie guy growing up, so I would always love sharing a movie I loved with somebody else and being, kind of like getting to watch it for the first time again, But anyway, I was getting furious in this scene, and I was just hoping Warlock was going to kick some ass. Like, my blood was boiling,
And he could just unleash the fury of the soul gem, but he's terrified of it because he's thinking, if I unleash the soul gem, is this going to unlock the mages? Is this going to increase my evolution? If I just contain the soul gem, I will prevent the mages from materializing. You know what I mean?
So here's where we introduce. Of course, they're guilty.
Guilty. They. He's in court now. He's got no free speech. He's found guilty. They all call him guilty, and then we cut to the troll.
So Troll's hanging out in a seedy part of town, where he's more comfortable. But then we introduce who I instantly recognize as Gamora.
Yep, first appearance of Gamora. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This
is the first appearance.
The first appearance of Gamora.
Wow. Okay, I like her outfit in this a lot more than her movie outfit.
Well, they changed her a lot for the movie, which I could understand, but she's a hooker right here.
Well, they kept her attitude. I thought that the girl that played her in the movie, after reading this, I was like, well, I think she captured a lot of the it's not anger.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, she had the sass and the anger because she was abused as a kid. She was a sex slave.
Yeah. So
now she's no longer a sex slave, but she's like a prostitute on her own terms.
Her story is very different when it comes to Thanos than the movie. Very different. So that's a whole.
Look at this panel right here.
That's what I was talking about earlier. The way he does the lighting on these faces is so good.
I've come to see if this Warlock really has a chance of defeating the mages. If he does plan to join him, if he does plan to kill the mages, I plan to join him. If he doesn't plan to kill the mages, I plan to kill Adam Warlock.
What an entrance.
Right.
And see, this is what I was talking about how he uses the medium, because that line with her face shadow just adds so much more emphasis to the moment.
Glitch, that would be telling, Glitch. That would be telling. He said, will they be using the tools he bought from the comics like X-ray specs?
Yes. So the next page, this is where he just, he's had enough.
Yeah, he's had enough. Mages or no mages, you can't just execute me,
Yeah, because he actually has good logic here. He's like, if I am the magus, then you can't try me here because, what does he say?
For a jury of my peers, I demand to be tried by the magus. He's my only peer.
Yeah, exactly. So he catches the court in a little catch-22 there, but they're not having it. They're just like, we're gonna take you out anyway. Yeah,
a brainwashing center. The bailiffs have slipped his chain. Like, I love that. He just takes off the chain. Like, he just amuses people when they put him in chains and stuff. Like, all right, I'm done now with your straight jackets and your chains. And he just rips everybody over here. And he's just, unleashing his Adam Warlock.
That is such a great panel too, man.
Yeah, look at that. And I can definitely see a perfect blend of Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko in this panel,
But like, he's kicking everybody's butt, and then the judge is like, very well then, since you refuse to submit to the church rehabilitation, I am forced to reverse my previous merciful ruling and sentence you now to death. So even though he's got such power, he still finds himself in situations that he can't completely escape from. So he's still vulnerable, and that kind of keeps the dice rolling, where you're like, okay, well, he's not all powerful.
Right. He's trying to free himself. He's being swallowed by the ground, but the soul gem isn't doing anything. Why?
Yeah.
It's not soul.
Yeah, it's just ground.
I got excited. I thought this was the first appearance of Madam Web for a second, but no. She appeared in a Hostess ad in her first appearance. And so now, Hail the Magist, Krator, I thank you. Now, I was lost. And what does he do? He uses the soul gem again. Right?
Yep.
And he takes Krator in. So now, last issue he used it against Autoclys and he regretted it. Now he's like, oh yeah, you're gonna kill me? Now I'm gonna take you. Like he's on this path to corruption.
But see, to me it feels like this time it happened. Is it this time where before he even realizes it? Like, so he's losing control.
Right over here. Yeah, you could see.
It's talking to him. Yes, release me.
Release me. It'll be good. Yes, so good. Memories, images, thoughts like none I've ever tasted. Delicious. So
and then he's got moral quandaries because he's like, "What have I done? I just allowed."
No, I commanded the gem to steal a soul. What's coming over me? He's like, but I can't think of that. I can't think. I have thoughts that are not mine. They're Krator's thoughts. No, I understand. He truly believed what he did was just. I threatened his belief. In his mind, I was the villain. Even worse, yet by stealing his soul, I proved him right.
So even fighting these despicable villains, he finds this moral quandary in that.
The matriarch comes in all sexy with their hip cocked,
Yeah. Yeah. What does he say? Yes, you do at last understand we're all heroes in our own minds, even me.
Yep. And then they throw him into the pit. The next issue, I guess, will go fast because that's the one with the clowns.
Yeah. So this one, as soon as I saw the clowns, I was like, "What?"
I remember. I hate clowns. I hate clowns.
Yeah,
I hate clowns.
And I was like, "What? How are they putting clowns in this?" I mean, yes, this is kind of, eclectic, or it's kind of like it takes ideas from all over the place. But I'm like, clowns.
So look at these credits. Al Milgrom is inking. So I guess Jim Starlin.
Oh.
And then Jim Starlin, Insanity.
Yeah.
So which means that Jim Starlin's doing the lettering too. Oh no, Tom Orzechowski is doing the lettering. I apologize. And here we got.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some Ditko space going on in here too. Oh, and it even says the story is dedicated to Steve Ditko, who gave us all a different reality.
Yep.
A nice little gesture towards Ditko, because he's definitely in Ditko's space here. So this is like a really weird issue because you get your recap, of course. They're kind of recapping what happened in the last issue and even before, but then we get into this realm of clowns and stuff, and this is introducing. We'll get there, but you're just like, what is this? This is the land of the way it is, And immediately I'm starting to wonder, it's like Clown World, and my mind is racing, what is this? But then you get this brief glimpse of this guy named Linz, little alien guy right here on the far right, and you're kind of confronted with the idea that maybe this is an engineered hallucination. This is the Matrix.
Yes.
So again, this book is introducing concepts and ideas that didn't become popular until years and years later.
I forget who it was again. I'm so sorry, everybody, but somebody put on Twitter, I think it was Michael Bancroft. He said, what is your favorite thing about comic books? And I said, the imagination.
Yeah.
I said, they're unlimited budget, especially if you're the writer and the artist, you could do everything. And everything has been done in comics 20 years earlier.
Yeah.
Again, here we have the Matrix, Total Recall.
It makes me wonder, what is left untouched that has not been touched, by comics already. I mean,
here we got Gamora over here. The only criticism I'll say is I was spoiled by Jim Starlin inking himself. Nothing against Al Milgrom, but it just doesn't seem as good.
Well, I loved it at the end. Let me just take a quick peek at the.
Yeah, I'm trying to go faster.
I want to see who inked the. Joe Rubenstein. Okay, inked the last, because I really enjoyed the art in the very last one. Okay, we'll get to that. So
he's throwing pies at the past version of him. Getting and I wonder if this is Jim Starlin himself. You know what I mean? If he made it look like. You know, like
yeah, this guy Lynn's here.
like this Roy Thomas. You know what I mean? Oh, these are the Marvel guys. Because
this big guy looks like somebody. You know, I don't know if you got him on your because they all look like somebody. It's really interesting.
They look vaguely familiar. You know, and back in this day, I didn't know what John Byrne looked like until I saw him at a comic convention. You know, these days I could figure out what everybody looks like.
I used to say I loved it when I had no idea who anybody was, because I used to think Jim Lee was a white guy and Stan Lee was an Asian guy. Like it's like you just didn't know any better. Who cared? Yep. But yeah, we see this Gamora looking hot in this page. I think that's the page right before.
Oh, which
go back one more. Yeah, look at some of these shots of Gamora here. So great. And that last shot of her.
Yeah, I mean, so Gamora is the city that was destroyed by God, you know, but the city of sin and
right.
So that's
the deadliest woman in the whole galaxy.
Yeah. All right, the deadliest woman in the whole galaxy. Yeah, she's a honey trap. She seduces you and she'll assassinate you. You know what I mean? She uses every part of the buffalo. She's using every part of the buffalo.
That's right. She's got a great looking buffalo. So it becomes clear that they're manipulating Warlock here, because we get a shot of the matriarch, and then
it's off the camera, but he's got this funky helmet, like this VR helmet.
Yeah. We find out that they're trying to program his brain, and she gives them the idea like he's rebelling against this. He's like, and we find out that the clowns or how he's seeing them.
Right.
That's not their intention. His mind is making them look like clowns because that's how he feels like they are.
Right. This is a being who could control the soul gem. He's losing control of the soul gem. Yeah, he was entrusted with the soul gem. He was created to be the ultimate being. So he's resisting, and that's what he's saying. He goes, he's messing with that program. And also the matriarch, she's trying to what's the word? Subliminally make it so that when he becomes the magus is subservient to the matriarch.
Right. Because she's really cunning. She's right here. She gives him the idea. You're approaching this all wrong. You need to make it feel like we are the underdogs trying to do right, and that he will have no choice but to help us in that game.
On his heroism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't antagonize him. We're not going to beat him. We got to play to his weakness, and his weakness is he's still a good guy.
Yeah. Which is great. And then of course, they immediately start working on him on that level. And I love this metaphor that they have. Again, Gamora looking fantastic. But they immediately switch gears to them hauling trash and building these giant towers of trash that fall and kill a bunch of people. And then they immediately rebuild it and start all over again. And it happens over and over and over and over.
Rolling the rock up the hill. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's such a great metaphor for, kind of everything, that this way of thinking brings, but I'm not, it's still not working on him. Especially, and what's funny is he's like seeing diamonds among garbage, and he's like, this is out of control. It's still not working on him.
He's disregarding the diamonds, and we're piling up the garbage. And here, he's going through this Ditko-esque nightmare world, the clowns right next to him, knocking down walls, and who comes out? I am everything you seek. I am the madness monster.
Yeah, so this is fun. This is like, okay, so there's a great A and B plot to this, where you got your A plot, which is him struggling with the mental visions, and you got the B, and them trying to hypnotize him or brainwash him, and then you got the Gamora and Pip story where they're going in to rescue him, and so anyway, so in the A plot where Warlock, he's got a. They convince him that the only way out of there is to go through the doorway of insanity or whatever. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, something like I forget exactly what do they call that? Something like that. But
yeah, so when he goes in there, you got the madness monster, and he tries to use the soul gem again.
Right. No hesitation. He just
he's really losing control here.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work because he has no soul. He's not a real thing. So little by little, you kind of realize these. But I love this because he breaks free. He was breaking free of his own free will because he realizes that this is not reality, and he breaks out just as Gamora and Pip were about to let him out. So he's like, they made it there, they whacked everybody, and they're about to let him out, but he did it anyway of his own free will. So it's a kind of a
incredible.
fun...
He shorted out the input helmet by pure force of will alone. No one's ever done that before. And Gamora's just slinking, hanging out by the machine.
She's such a cool customer. I really enjoyed Gamora in this book. I really did. And there was definitely some part that I got a little confused by at the end. You'll have to fill me in, but we'll do that on the next round.
Then, so now what happens? The Magus shows up on the screen,
Yeah.
And he's like, "Show yourself! Oh, you want to see me?" Boom! The door opens. Check him out.
Yeah, he even mentions this. My Wizard of Oz deception has served its purpose. So at last, I can finally reveal my true self to you, and it's a purple version of him with an afro, an older guy.
He's got the Art Garfunkel look.
Yeah, and it just stinks of 70s like you wouldn't believe. But
yeah,
you quickly kind of like let go of that. If you're like me, and I was like, oh man, that afro, I don't know, but then you let go of it real quick,
yeah, because when they brought back the Magus, he's got the ponytail, so.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, the true Magnus. My plans require to stand in till now. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, you see that it's kind of come full circle where he's, you do see that it is literally him. I don't think they've revealed exactly that what you were saying earlier. You gave a little teaser that he is Warlock from the future.
Right.
The far, far future. So
would the soul gem work on politicians? It would probably poison the soul gem.
Yeah, it may be. Okay, so let's do this one more because then the next one is when Thanos arrives. So this is the end of this particular little arc before Thanos arrives. So yeah, let's do this one more here. The Infinity Effect. Look at this lettering.
Yeah.
Every one of these titles has a great title and a different lettering to express that. So well done.
Yeah, and look at this the Infinity Effect. So this is like the again, I don't think Jim Starlin thought of the Infinity Stones at this point because it was just the Soul Gem. It wasn't the Soul Stone. It wasn't. Oh, it's one of the. It was just, and then I think later on they added on, like Legos. Comics are like Legos. You just put another Lego on top. I got no problem with that.
So this one is rendered by Steve Lealoha. So it's even different. Like every one of these has like a different inker embellisher.
They probably need to because everything else, Jim Starlin.
Well, look at all that Starlin's doing on every page.
Yeah, can you guys? Do you see like all the detail on all the rocks? All the details on everything.
Every issue, every page is so lush and dense with detail and special effects and just all kinds of things.
Oh, guys, just look at this panel up here.
And that afro. Oh yeah.
Wow,
yours is way different than mine. Wow.
Oh, really?
The floor, the floor on mine is green. Look at this.
I'll bring it up. Oh yeah. I just don't like the coloring that they do.
That's without the saturation effect of the newsprint.
And I love this that the Magus is silver and he's gold.
Believe it or not, this is the same color from their actual film plates that they took. It's just this is how dramatically different it looks on glossy paper. This wasn't recolored. It's the same color. It's just that's how pulp makes it look. It soaks into the paper instead of floating on top. So we got David Alicia, amazing work and detail, all done on newsprint. I love the coloring given the I prefer the coloring, but then again, it might just be a case of that's what I'm used to. Well, yeah, to me, it's like when I hear a song and then I'll go watch them live and then they'll play it differently. And I'm like, no, that's not how the song goes. Yeah.
Or I hear remastered Beatles songs. I'm like, no,
Or a movie director will add a scene that was cut for theatrical release and suddenly all the timing is off. And so much depends on that first experience you have with the work,
right.
This is why it's important for guys like Lucas not to change.
Yes, and this is why it's important to have physical media.
Yeah, that too, definitely.
And I love this. The Magus is just toying with them. Just look at him. He's just leaning on the wall over here. Like, Warlock is struggling. He's like, no. And Magus is just like, yeah, I'm leaning on the wall. I'm just dealing with you. Because he knows I'm you from the future. I've been on your side. I know what you're going to do.
And there's this great beat right here on the facing page you got where Adam Warlock's like, I refuse to believe I am to become as evil as you. You forced millions into slavery. And it's funny. It's like now the Magus is saying the exact words at the same time he is because he's already been there. He's done it.
You see that? The arrow, the pointers are coming out of.
Wait, what are you doing?
How could this be? Wait, what are you doing? I'm merely repeating the words I once spoke in ignorance. As for now, I might not be on the other side of the coin as you. I see that the answer is not quite satisfactory. Is it?
I mean, it's just when I got to that moment and I realized he was saying the exact words that he was saying at the exact same time, I was like, that's fun. That's just brilliant. I was just kind of blown away.
That's what I'm saying. Can you... what was it, 70? Well, I didn't get this right away. I think I got this. I got this after this.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure I got it after the comic book store. I got this on the
news. Oh, okay.
But then I had to go and search.
You went back. Yeah.
But it was like, me and my friends, we were like excited, like, oh, that made, So that
we get like
it because I read. I think I read this first, and then I read the Avengers, and then you know what I mean. So I read.
Okay, yeah.
But it's still amazing.
So then what do we get here? He's basically just giving him the lowdown about,
in the
just use the girl from the beginning who died that set him on this mission. He planned all that because he knew that her death would set him on this journey to find him and start the whole thing going.
Yeah, it was the impetus of everything.
And even the matriarch, he was like, I knew about her. He knows everything. Everything that we've been up to this point was designed by the Magus to happen for a purpose.
It's like they're in this MC Escher castle too,
Yeah.
And I love this. Pip's like, well, I guess it's down to me, Well, some of the most turned out to you be like, it's up for me, Pip the God Basher.
Well, this is interesting too because you think that the fearsome woman in the world would go, in the universe will take him, but she's like, I just can't yet. And he's like, well, some most dangerous woman in the galaxy you turn out to be. Okay, I'm going to do it. Pip the God Basher, and he runs after him. And of course, he just gets smacked down like nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't even address him.
Yeah. He's still doing his conversation. He just smacks the guy.
I waited 5,000. So the Magus is Adam Warlock in 5,000 years, come back through time to dominate the galaxy. And then he's like, what's going on? So she's like,
yeah, this is where we introduce.
I have to contact the master. I must clear my thoughts, let them drift out into the void. I must reach out and touch his mind with mine. Master, Gamora. Telepathic linkage has been achieved. Report. It is as you predicted. I am undetected.
So now, real quick. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. So this was spoiled a little for me because of the movies. Because I already understood who Gamora was tied to. So I automatically knew. And I started getting excited. But was Thanos a thing before this?
Yes, Thanos debuted in Iron Man 55. Drax the Destroyer and Iron Man debuted in Iron Man 55, which I think was a year before this. But Jim Starlin was telling this story despite whatever comic book he was working in. So when he was writing Captain Marvel, he was telling this story, and then he did a couple of Iron Man comics, and he was telling this story, and now now he's finishing this story in Warlock. So like you could pick up Iron Man 55, you could with the first appearance of Drax.
So did you have any idea when you first read this? You spoiled it for yourself because you read the Avengers one first.
Yeah, I read it backwards. So
I'm just wondering who picked that up.
By this time, I was saying the words as they were saying them. I came from the future. So I'm going to turn the page.
Yep. So then we realized that Gamora and her master have a whole plan. So there's this whole other element being introduced now, a whole other thread of complication,
right?
Being brought into all this.
And they're fighting over here. She pulls it. He goes, but when that point in time arrives, strike him with every ounce of speed and strength I've given you. The very fate of the stars rests within you. So that she's being set up as like a messiah. Like she is going to save the galaxy by killing Adam Warlock before he could become the Magus. So like you said, there's a whole other twist.
There were elements of Dune in this as well with the some of the stuff they do. I can't remember if this is the scene, but there was one scene that definitely reminded me of Dune as well. The Dune Messiah stuff. I don't know if it's this, but yeah, where they give her this knife, and he definitely a plan. There's a very specific point in time, and in the Magus is he's just going off on, I planned all this. You suck, blah, blah, blah. He's just like, he's enthralled and just terrorizing Warlock here.
Look at this pose. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says that you can't use the soul gem on me because it's the same gem. I'm wearing the soul gem. You know what I mean? Like, we're just going to cancel each other out.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get the, are you there? Yeah. The next page. So he reveals that the entity is known as the In-Betweener, and he goes into the whole thing about what happened to him, and he was taken by the In-Betweener, forced into this realm into like this stasis where his mind is just floating through space basically and ineffectual and not having to do anything until he finally comes out, all those years later on the planet that he is now the deity of. And he, they're like an early man, even though they have technology. He just decimates them all and becomes their god,
That cocoon again, showing it like he's being.
Yeah.
And this is also the first appearance of the In-Betweener. Jim Starlin was big into all of these cosmic entities.
Yeah.
So here he is just unleashing, using his power that lay dormant for just conquering everybody.
So now you have to imagine this is Warlock, because we see him go in. He's taken by the In-Betweener as the Warlock that we know, and he comes out as the Magus.
Right.
So and he is pissed. He's like, I'm just going to use the full force of the Soul Stone now, Soul Gem.
I like this. Like most religion, he goes, I then set about forming the Universal Church of Truth. I mean, what good is a God without a church? Like most religion, it was created to keep the practitioners in line by threats of damnation and such. Yet my church would be wedded to the planet's government and instilling the religious stamp of approval on any task I felt the planet should undertake for me. The very first project was holy war upon the heathens that infested the neighboring planets. So there you go.
I don't want to get all into conspiracy theory, but this book could have been made yesterday.
Yeah.
There's so much in this that is relevant even today.
And right over here, this I remember this shocked me. I read this as a kid, and even as a kid, I'm like, they could put this in a comic book. So here he is. He's setting up the church. He has everything, but he doesn't want to do the day-to-day operations. I mean, he's a god. Even when Dr. Doom conquered the world, he was bored and released control. It's more fun conquering than it is ruling. Mm-hmm. I had centuries before I adopted my Wizard of Oz disguise for its shock value and established the Black Knights. Palace Inquisitors, and any other group I remembered you meeting. That really needed to be done was to find and relinquish physical control of the church to the matriarch. At last, I located her in a certain sinful establishment in one of the city's lowest levels, where she was known to be an infamous woman of easy morals, with an iron will and a mind like a razor. She was magnificent. She took control of the Holy Empire as she was born to do, as well as she may have been. So he goes and finds a hooker in a brothel and makes her the matriarch. It's a pity she was preordained. It's a pity she was preordained that she would betray me. But unfortunately, every god needs his Judas.
Yeah, I mean,
even those.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just great.
And now he's so powerful that the fight resumes. Adam Warlock catches him, and he's so powerful. Reality is just warping around him.
This is such a kid thing. He's like, "Oh yeah, well, did I do this last time?" He's like, "Yeah, you did, and I did this." So there.
Yeah. She was a loose one, huh? Yep. The matriarch, yeah.
Yeah, this is
and that's a play on Mary Magdalene. The prostitute becomes like the prophetess.
Right.
And now this is the only this I thought was brilliant. I almost gave something away. I don't want to give anything away yet. But the reality, it's not just
he's warping reality all around.
Mind is getting messed up. Reality is getting messed up. So Gamora and Pip, they don't know where to go. Like they're getting confused. He's covering his mouth. Oh, you can't see. He's covering his mouth. He's gonna puke.
Yeah. But this is almost as if, again, I kind of keep going back to the movies. But you said this was before they kind of figured out all the different soul gems or all the different gems.
Yeah,
so
this was before the concept of the Infinity Stones, if you ask me.
But this one has the power to do a lot of that stuff. Like the one, I don't know which gem it was, but it has the ability to kind of alter reality.
Yeah, there's the reality. And keep in mind, he used the soul gem to go back in time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So this was the one gem, it was just did everything because, and then later on, I guess he farmed him out. Or maybe there's a story that I'm missing. Maybe this gem got split into 6. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love this. He goes, "You're going to attack me. You have exactly 12 seconds before I summon the in-betweener." So right now he's creating the situation where the in-betweener comes. So this is, as far as Adam Warlock is concerned, this is his last moments. He's got 12 minutes. 12 seconds.
and Gamora is in contact with Thanos, and he's saying, you got this one particular moment. So that they're constantly setting up ticking clocks in this, which is great. And 12 seconds. So that's the amount of time that she has to make her strike. And she goes in for the kill.
So each panel is exactly a second.
Yeah, it's great.
And I love this pop art, the different colors. Like this is almost like a Andy Warhol over here, Just it's completely red, then it's blue, then it's yellow,
Yeah.
And look at his face. He's just like, look at all this. Gamora, he's like, why fight it? He's almost like succumbing to fate.
Building tension and
Zero, he just smacks Gamora.
Yeah, I mean, they built this up over this entire issue now that she's got this one moment to strike, and she fails. They do this again and again and again where they set you up with talk about, what do they call it? Subverting your expectations. Yeah.
Expectations.
But they do it the right way in this,
right.
Where you're just, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. No, he smacks her like Pip. That was a little foreshadowing, where he smacks Pip away.
All over. What had to be is, even now, the injection of a new element, this Jade Demoness, into my reality could change its final outcome. Luckily, my astral senses pierced this girl's multi-actual camouflage in time to stop her from throwing me off my cosmic timetable.
This is like heady stuff, man. That's big stuff right there.
Oh yeah, guys, we got a new movement in Comicsgate: Justice for Pip.
Yeah, Justice for Pip.
Justice for Pip.
Well, wait till his story is a lot more.
The countdown page.
A lot more going on.
To Adam, remember, there's no escape from the in-betweener. To the green lass, return to your master, whoever he may be, which is, you ask me, it shows a weakness. Whoever he may be, whoever this master is.
He doesn't know. He's not all seeing. He
doesn't know. I like, that's just so subtle.
Yeah.
That Starlin threw that in there. Like, it's just a throwaway line, but it's like, to the green lass, return to your master, whoever he may be. Tell him the Magus is now aware of him and will deal with him in due time. But he didn't predict this. He would have known. You know what I mean? Which
Thanos does explain some of that later of how he's kind of able to, subvert his expectations. Like, he's able to kind of like wiggle in between his perceptions.
I love this little, like, look at his face now. I'll bring it up here.
Oh yeah, he's going straight mad.
He's going Looney Tunes. The horror of like the Lovecraftian, cosmic horror is overwhelming. Don't worry, Adam. My master will think of worry. Why should I worry? I'm about to become a god. I've been a god before, Back on Counter Earth, they thought of me as their messiah. I was sent to deliver them from evil. Oh my God, Orion! If they could only see me now.
I love that by Orion. Talk about, I mean, I immediately thought of New Gods, but this is a Marvel book, so I know they're talking about Asgard or something. Like, who's Orion in this? By Orion.
Jim Starlin modeled Thanos off of Darkseid.
Okay, so this is a little nod to.
He read the New Gods, so
I can't believe they got away with that. Putting by Orion,
but Orion it's a mythological thing. It's a constellation.
Yeah,
you can't copyright it. Look at the stars. Look what I've become. I've become the stealer of souls. And first Autoclus, then Krator. He goes, I've become a spiritual vampire. He's just succumbing to it all. He goes, people will worship me. I will have the power to do anything I want. All it's going to cost me is my humanity. And I will say that this whole concept of losing your humanity is a big part of my role-playing game that I actually made up like a stat called humanity, and heroes that lose their humanity become villains. Like Jean Grey, her humanity, whatever, she succumbed, lost a critical role, became Dark Phoenix. So,
there was a big deal. Did you ever play the Star Wars role-playing game?
Yeah, I played it twice.
There was a big deal in that where if you used the dark side too much, you would lose your character to the dark side. You would gain dark side points. Yeah.
Everything went as planned, Peter. I just love that this guy's name is Peter. The matriarch wants to see you. Well, if it isn't my ever faithful servant, the matriarch.
Yeah, this is
she's
pretty.
Like, and even now she's cool. Yes, my dear.
Yeah. All the way that she's cool like the entire time. Never loses.
Oh, so I betrayed you, but of course I had to. I mean, you wouldn't respect me if you reach for the stars, but unfortunately you're not strong enough to hold them. I can no longer allow you to be my matriarch. But there will always be a place among you, among the saints that have died for the church. And she just falls into this like netherworld hell over here. Yes, the official story read, the matriarch gives life to protect church from the infidel warlock. The populace will love it like that. See the story gets out, General. After you gather up the Black Knights and liquidate anyone you find in room 7, subsection Z. Yes, your whole
he's doing what do they call that? When the news does spin. Yeah, they're it's all fake. It's all manipulation.
Misinformation, propaganda.
Propaganda. There you go. Yep. So I mean, this book again is just dealing with so much. When I was reading it, I was like, it felt relevant today, in a weird way.
Yeah. That's the best art, and then
Yeah, right. It's timeless.
Now they're waiting for the in-betweener to come take them. Meanwhile, back at room 7, subsection 2, stand back. I'm about to phase into your sphere of existence to take personal control of the situation. I must admit that I severely underestimated the Magus' power. I had hoped Gamora's influence into the Magus' past-present reality. So, for those of you who aren't reading all the details, Magus didn't know who Gamora was because she wasn't there. And she wasn't there because, ta-da, Thanos.
Yep,
Thanos is the rogue element. He is he's changing things. He is the fly in the ointment.
we'll find out why later too, because he's.
I assure you, Thanos is such an element. I've hoped to avoid personal involvement in this affair for other more important matters now screened for my attention. Yet those plans depend on Warlock's continued well-being, so I'm forced to intervene. For Thanos now stands with you, Adam Warlock, to prepare to fight the death. So Thanos is now Adam Warlock's enemy against the mages.
And this is so wild because, like, they team up.
Right.
You get to see Thanos in the next issue fighting alongside Warlock against all these. So Thanos now stand with you.
After the chat. In case of absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Yes. Look at that.
The morals and the it's just so sticky where you gotta Thanos, I mean, his whole worldview is about death. It's about, creating genocide across the galaxy, about taking everything out. So this would, I mean, if we could stop here, honestly, we got into 2 hours and there's still so much more to go.
We'll set up a plan for another day whenever you want.
Well, let's catch up after you do your book launch. That'll be a fun show to kind of do where you can we could still talk about your book and stuff like that. So maybe when are you doing that?
My book is being launched a week from today, 9:00 on Michael Bancroft's channel. So you want to do a week from today, like whenever Michael Bancroft has had enough of me pitching my comic on his channel, I'll go live on mine because I'm just gonna, do.
He does it early, but he does it late, but I don't know. Yeah, we could try for that. Like if it's not too late. Like right now, my pumpkin my carriage is turning into a pumpkin right now. So I'm getting sleepy.
4:30 in the morning, but the excitement of this is kept me going.
Yeah, let's try.
We'll tease the cover for the next issue.
This was a great issue too, because it is all hell breaks loose. They even give the number of it's 250,000 troops they're fighting, or something like that.
Thanos over here facing the mages over here with Warlock. This is just like space opera. Opera is the only word I can think of.
How many issues did we go through? Was it 3 or 4? 4 issues, I think.
We did a bunch.
There was
1, 2, 3,
4,
5. Yeah, we did 4. We did 5. We did 6 issues.
Was that 6? I really thought it was it feels like way more, but yeah. Hold on, let's see.
And guys, I'm terrible at hawking myself, but yes, my comic Heroic Tales #1 will be on 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York time. I can't even talk. All of a sudden, I just realized how tired I am. It's a labor of love. It's there's no way I could say it's like Jim Starlin, but this is the kind of stuff that inspired my comics. It's going to amp up. It's going to start out, ease into it. So I'm already anticipating the criticism for issue #1. I'm such a bad salesman, but you can't start out with Thanos. You got to start out with supervillains and bank robberies, and then work.
Well, that's why it's so good that we look through this, because it starts slow, and then it gives you a lot of information, but it keeps ramping up and up and up and up and up. Yeah, it gets out of control. This book, seriously.
Yeah. And I tell you guys, it culminates in the greatest single comic book of all time.
This was a lot of fun. Spider-Man is so great. I actually was smiling ear to ear reading his dialogue. It's just they know how to write Spider-Man. He sounds like Peter Parker. You just know it as soon as you see him. There's nobody else that talks like him in comics. It's great.
I just remember we were going somewhere. My parents, I was a little kid, and we went into the 7-Eleven, and this was on a spinner rack, and this was 60 cents. And I just told my mom, you got to get that for me.
60 cents. What an issue for 60 cents.
Fiction, because she was just like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Mom, there's no choice. You're getting this. It's like I must have did a Jedi mind trick or some latent mutant ability, because my mom would have fought with me for 60 cents back then.
That was a lot of money back in them days.
I'll never forget this. You know, this I bought this off a spinner rack.
Oh,
you know,
man. Yeah, great books, man. I'm happy you got me to read it. We'll have to like definitely keep going with this because I want to get through the rest of it, and then we got to pick a new thing to read. So be thinking about that. If not, we were saying Secret Wars.
Secret Wars is a good one because for two reasons. It's good, and second off, everybody will want to see it.
Okay.
Secret Wars yet?
No. That's what I'm saying. That's one I have not read.
You didn't even read it yet, so that'll be awesome.
Yeah, so we'll have another one, but we still got to get through the rest of this because there's some really good stuff coming. And
the best is yet to come, I think.
Since we're going to split it up into multiple shows, we can definitely still go through those other two issues I was telling that weren't as essential but still fun. The Pip episode, and then this one with the guy whose mind. I don't want to spoil anything. The one whose mind is. He can reach out with his mind. It's such a fun issue, actually. It's really good.
That comic, believe it or not, actually scared me as a kid.
It is a little spooky, yeah. But that's the one with the space shark. So I want to get the space shark cracked me up. Yeah, we'll get to that though. But hey, also I want to mention real quick in case anybody's wondering that young Von Coleman is launching his book.
Yes,
today,
I want to thank you for
Phenomenova.
It launched already. Phenomenova. Could anybody look to see if Rini is still alive? We'll do a Brogan raid,
Yeah, how do you do those raids? He does that too.
I got 61 people. Could anybody, because I'm afraid to hit a button, you know what I mean? So if anybody is Rini still alive right now? I guess I could.
Yeah, if you know how to do a raid, send her. I don't know how you do it.
Okay, Rini draws. She's got 68 people watching because we're going to close down now. So let's do Michael Bancroft is what he calls Brogan raids when they shut down. We send everybody. So guys, let's. I think it's a fun, positive thing to do.
I love it.
Yeah, let's do we'll call it a long box raid. Everybody tell them long box raid.
Long box raid.
We're doing a long box raid. Everybody go to Rini Draws right now. We're going to shut it down. Kelsey and I will discuss when we could do part 2 to this. This might even be three.
Yeah, it may have to be even 3 because there's so much good stuff, and
Kelsey,
I don't want to miss anything.
Thank you. This is exactly what I wanted to do. This is awesome.
Great. I'm having fun.
My buddy Cam missed it. Cam. Cam, you got to watch this one because I know you love these comics. But
we're digging deep. We're digging deep into these issues. We're going page by page, and I love it.
You're going to see first appearances by other characters.
Yeah,
coming up in this. Jim Starlin created the whole corner of Cosmic Marvel. Such good stuff. But ready, guys? I'm going to say, I just want to put up this link because Kelsey's got to eat too. Back Nexus the Scourge, him and Mike Barron.
Oh yeah, thank you.
How can you go wrong with that? That is just awesome. And if you like what we were just doing tonight, you're gonna love Nexus. For sure. It's cut from the same cloth. Somewhere in the multiverse, Jim Starlin and Mike Barron are collaborating on a Warlock Dreadstar Nexus, comic book that's just gonna make your face explode. It's these cosmic superheroes. It's great. And if I may be self-indulgent, please, guys, please consider checking out my comic. It's launching a week from today. Thanks a lot, everybody. Great. Richie Dupe says great stream.
Long box raid. I'm in Rini's chat right now. Long box raid.
All right. All right. I'm going to shut this down then. Oh, they're really saying long box raid?
No, I just put that in their chat.
Okay, everybody, let's all go.
Oh, and Bancroft is rating him. We're both rating him.
All right, let's rate it. I'm going to turn this off now. I think that's a fun thing to do. All right, Kelsey, I'll message you in a little bit.
Okay.
Right. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Go to Reedy Draws and have a long box raid.